And it's time now for American Scream.
The Fall of Perryville.
It was a sunny day. Kelly was in the passenger seat and we were listening to a 90s playlist on Spotify. The air was crisp and cool, so we had the windows down, taking in as much of it as we could. We were newlyweds, and Kelly was newly pregnant, only now starting to show signs of a bump. We were going to start a family, and we were on our way to the house we just bought to collect the keys from our realtor. It had 3 bedrooms and 2.5 baths. Kelly did some research on the neighboring schools, and they were some of the best in the state. As we entered the neighborhood, we passed a cute little park with a small playground. The houses we passed were in immaculate condition, each with lush green grass, all trimmed at seemingly equal levels. Kelly used the word picturesque, and I couldn't have agreed more. The woman's voice on my phone said to take the next left on Eleanor Street, and the destination would be on the right. 185 Eleanor. That must be her, Kelly said, referring to a black Ford Focus parked in the driveway. I parked right beside it, and we got out. I absolutely love these colors, she said. I know, you've said it like a million times now. I couldn't really blame her, though. The colors did look good together. The siding was blue with white trim, but what made the whole thing pop was the bright orange door in the center. It's just so perfect, though. It's so us, Jake. The front door opened and Sue, our realtor, came outside to greet us. Her style almost reminded me of the Long Island medium, with the artillery nails and bright jewelry. The only thing that wasn't spot on was her southern accent. Hey y'all! Big day today, isn't it? Where's the moving van? Well, we still have a month left before we have to be out of the apartment, so we figured we'd hold off on it for now. Well, let me be the first to welcome you both to your new home. She lifted a key attached to a yellow card and dangled it in front of our faces. I even locked it back up for y'all so you have the pleasure of turning the key for the first time. I looked at the silver key and then at Kelly. You want to do the honors? Her eyes sparkled. Of course I do. She took the key from Sue. Hey, I left some homemade cookies for you two on the kitchen counter. Consider a thank you for the business. She looked at her watch. Oh my god, I need to get back to the office. You two make sure to soak it all in now, you hear? Oh, and don't hesitate to call me if you need anything. We thanked her for everything before she got in her car and drove off. I looked at Kelly and she looked back at me, and we couldn't help but smile. Well, go and lock the door. We went inside and the open hallway greeted us. On the left there was a sort of sitting room. A little further down was the door to a half bathroom. To the right was the dining room with a low-hanging chandelier just waiting for me to run into it. Through the hallway, the house opened up into a living room on the left, and the kitchen on the right. The stairs leading to the second floor were also in the living room on the wall closest to the hallway. A series of large windows lined the back walls, letting the rays of the evening sun in, giving everything a halo of light around it. We found the stack of freshly baked cookies sitting out for us and helped ourselves. Kelly was about to take a bite when I had a funny idea. Hold on, I said. She looked up at me, concerned. What is it? We should do a toast. With the cookies? I nodded. To us. To us. It was 8:30 now. Kelly and I were in the master bedroom sitting on some sleeping bags and pillows that we kept in the back of our Jeep for emergencies. I had brought my laptop in and was playing old horror movies that I had downloaded when I was doing a lot of interviews for nursing positions. The first one we watched was Creature from the Black Lagoon, but we could hardly pay attention to it and decided to walk around the whole house again for what felt like the 100th time. We discussed different things we eventually wanted to do with the place and where our furniture back at the apartment would best fit. We spent a good couple of hours in the baby's room, which was right across from ours, and had the cutest little window looking into the backyard. We were both on our devices trying to find wall colors we would use if it was a boy, and vice versa if it was a girl. Kelly also found a rocker and crib that fit the style of the house really well. After we had had enough of looking at home furnishings, I turned on Bride of Frankenstein. Kelly passed out in the middle of the movie with my arm around her. But as it came to a close, she moved on her side, hugging the pillow against her face. The house seemed to be addictive. I felt myself having to walk around it again, imagining how everything would look with the ideas Kelly and I came up with. Eventually, I found myself in front of the dining room window, looking out into the street. The orange street lamps glowed against the darkness and highlighted segments of the sidewalk in neighboring houses. Looking out at the other homes in the cul-de-sac, I realized how perfect this house really was. It wasn't that the others didn't look good or anything, but the various architecture in them was just too simple. Ours just seemed to have a lot of spunk to it. As I was thinking about things, I noticed something coming from behind one of the houses to the right of us. It was a buck, with huge antlers. I watched it as it walked onto the street and stopped right in front of our house, fixing its gaze in my direction. It didn't really surprise me. This area is full of deer, but I kept staring at it, its blank gaze still fixed on our house. Then something else emerged from out of the woods. It was a golden retriever, and it came and sat right next to the buck and also started staring at our house. The buck didn't seem to even notice the dog was there, didn't even turn its head. It just kept staring at the house with its new buddy. I realized I had to get my phone so I could record this. Who knows, it could end up being a YouTube sensation. Maybe even pay for the baby's room. I ran up the stairs and grabbed my phone I had left sitting on the sleeping bag, making sure not to wake Kelly up. I went over to the window on the far side of the bedroom, which also looked out onto the street. I got even more excited when I saw the pair hadn't left yet. I started recording. They were still transfixed on our house as if they were in some sort of hypnotic state. I kept expecting the buck to finally look to its side and realize the dog was next to it, and possibly do a funny jump and run away. Just then I caught something out of the corner of my eye. It was a man who was coming up from the darkness between the two houses in front of us. He startled me at first, but I figured he must have been the dog's owner and was coming to get him. But he just ended up standing behind them. Okay, this is getting a little weird, I thought. I tried to make out the man's face, but he was wearing a hoodie that kept him in darkness. Out of nowhere, waves of people were coming out from every direction. They were jammed together, moving between the houses like ants. My phone fell to the floor. I stood in the window, frozen, unable to comprehend what I was seeing. They were surrounding the house, and more of them kept coming out. In seconds, they had filled the whole street. They stood there, still. Then, as if it was choreographed, they turned their heads and looked right at me. I fell back on the floor. "Kelly, wake up!" "What? What is it?" she said, groaning. There are people surrounding the house." "What?" "There are people, like, everywhere outside. Look out the window." She started to stand up, and I pulled her back down. "No, stay low." She looked at me worried, still not understanding, but continued to the window. I gripped the sleeping bag tightly as she looked over the window ledge. "I don't see anybody." "What?" I crawled over to look again. The streets were clear now. A sense of relief came over me, but by no means was I able to just forget about it. "All right, we have to go." "Now?" "It's the middle of the night and it's like 2 hours back to the apartment." "Kelly, please, just grab your stuff and let's fucking go." "Jake, you're scaring me." I'm sorry, I just can't be here right now. We can talk about it later, but right now, we need to leave." Okay." All I had to do was collect my phone off the ground and put my laptop back in my bag. Kelly was trying to collect the blankets and pillows off the floor, but I told her to leave them there. I even grabbed her purse for her so we could get out the door faster. She followed me down the stairs and I peeked out the front window to make sure they weren't back out there. Nobody. I opened the door, making sure to pay close attention to my surroundings while holding tightly onto Kelly's wrist. "Wait," she said. "I need to lock the door." "Okay, hurry." She locked the door and I kept watching the street. I kept replaying what I saw just seconds ago, how fast they filled the streets, thinking it was just a matter of time before it happened again. "It's locked," she said, and I practically dragged her running into the car. Once I had it started, I put it in reverse and backed out as fast as I could before I slammed it into drive and took off. "Take it easy, Jake," Kelly said after she was thrown back in her seat. We got out of the neighborhood without a problem, but I was shaking uncontrollably now. Kelly noticed this as it was affecting my driving. She touched my arm. Why don't you let me drive? Yeah, that's a good idea. Let me just get to the Shell station, then we can switch. I pulled up to the pump even though our tank was full. I wanted to be as close to the light as possible. I was still shaking uncontrollably. Kelly was looking at me. Her eyes were wide. Jake, what happened? Wait, I recorded it. I took it out of my pocket and opened the video up, started playing it for her. It showed the buck, staring directly at the house, not moving. Then the dog came out and sat beside it. Then, the floor, as my phone fell from my hands and the video cut out. What? No, it must have skipped. I scrolled back through the video. What the hell? They were all over the fucking place. I looked back at her, and she was looking at me as if I had gone completely insane. Kelly, I promise I'm not lying about this. I'm not saying you are. I saw her pause, wanting to choose her words carefully. I believe you think you saw something. Oh my God, I said, holding my head in my hands. She grabbed my arm. Let me finish. I looked back at her, trying to prepare myself for what she was going to say next. I remember you told me that you used to take acid when you were younger. Now, I don't know much about psychedelics, but I do know that kind of stuff can cause flashbacks, like years after you take it. I think that might have been what happened to you just now. A smile formed across my face. Damn, Kelly's so fucking smart. How did I not think of that? Yeah, oh my God, yeah, that's definitely what happened. So, it's not gonna affect us moving in, will it? 'Cause I'd divorce you before I move out of that house. We're moving in, baby. I kissed her and exhaled a sigh of relief. Well, I guess we can go back to the house now, Kelly scowled. No, let's just go back to the apartment. Those hardwood floors are nice, but they're definitely not for sleeping on. Alright, well you're gonna have to drive, cause I'm obviously running on fumes. I opened the car door and we switched places. She started to take off on the now deserted road. I wrote my chair back and closed my eyes, then fell into a deep sleep. It was almost a week later before we went back to the house. I was driving a small U-Haul truck that me, Kelly, her parents, Hank and Gloria, and my brother Mark had finished loading up about 3 hours ago. We had all just stopped for lunch at a barbecue place that was on our way. Kelly taking the Jeep, her parents in a Lincoln Navigator, and my brother in his pickup. Each vehicle also filled with more of our stuff. The lunch was on me, and the pulled pork sandwich I got was great but left me a little tired. Nevertheless, I was back on the road with everyone caravanning behind me. I turned into the neighborhood that I had left so urgently days before. It made me shake my head just thinking about it. It was Saturday, so there were some people out walking around. Everyone that I passed smiled and waved at me. There were kids playing some game in the middle of the road, who were very courteous and moved to either side to let us through. I made the left onto Eleanor and instantly saw her blue house. I backed the U-Haul into the parking space closest to the front door, and Kelly parked beside me with her parents fitting in right in front of her. Mark was damned to park in the street. We all got out of our cars, and Kelly opened the door to the house so we could give them a tour of the place before we started unpacking. As we led them in, they remarked about the layout and how open everything was, and how nice the kitchen looked with the updated cabinets and backsplash. We brought them upstairs and showed them where the baby's room was going to be, and then brought them into the master bedroom. I love how high these ceilings are, Gloria said. So much room to breathe. Yeah, and that beam running through the center is a nice touch, Mark said, looking up at it. Do you know if that's oak or pine? I have no idea, I said before Hank interjected. Looks like oak to me. He looked back down from the ceiling and slapped both me and my brother on our backs. So, now that we've had the tour, when does the actual work start? My brother was more than happy to join in on this general blue-collar sense of humor. Yeah man, we don't got all day. Actually, there's one more thing I want you all to see. We've got an attic with its own staircase, and we're thinking of converting it into an office someday. They oohed at this, and followed Kelly as she started to guide them down the hallway. Hey, I'm gonna go ahead and start unloading the truck. You guys just come down when you're finished, okay? They agreed and disappeared behind the beige-colored walls. I opened the front door and had to keep myself from stumbling backwards. In front of me were thousands of expressionless faces, standing there just as they had been when I first saw them, only now in broad daylight. I knew it was just my mind going haywire, but they all looked so real. Each one of them was so unique that I found it difficult to believe I could conjure all of them up in my head. Was this going to become my new normal? I felt like I could have vomited right there in the foyer. "Kelly!" I said, putting my hands on my knees. She came down along with everyone else. Great. Now everyone's going to know that I'm going crazy. Once Kelly saw me, she knew what was going on. She came over and whispered in my ear. "Is it happening again?" I nodded. "Just tell me they aren't there and I can cope." "Jake, are you feeling all right?" "He's fine, Mom. It's just a headache he's been having recently." She put her arm around me and guided me towards the door. She opened it and froze. I started walking outside, but her grip tightened and held me back. I looked over at her and noticed her mouth had dropped. "What is it?" She said nothing. Her eyes darted around, looking behind me. My question had been answered. Mark appeared in the doorway behind Kelly. "What's with all these people? Did you guys win a contest or something?" Kelly pulled me back inside, pushing Mark out of the way and locking the door. "What's going on out there?" Hank asked. I don't know," Kelly said. Hank started to walk to the door. "Well, I'll just ask someone what's going on." "No, Dad. Don't go out there." "Why not? There's probably a good reason that we're just not thinking of." "Please don't, Hank. This doesn't feel right." "Okay. Then what do we do?" "They'll go away," I said. "Last time they went away. We'll just wait for them to go and then we can all leave." "What do you mean last time?" Mark asked. "I saw them the night that we got the keys from the realtor." He put his hand on his forehead. That didn't raise any red flags for you." "I thought I was having flashbacks, okay? Maybe if you didn't get me into acid when I was 12, I would have known better." "Look, they're in the backyard too," Gloria commented with her face almost completely against the living room window. Mark went over and pulled her away gently. "We should keep away from the windows, Miss Riley, especially since we don't know what their intentions are." He had a good point. We were easy targets if someone out there had a gun. Kelly became hysterical. "Why are they looking at us like that? Why won't they just leave us alone?" Hank held Kelly, trying to calm her down. Some of their facial expressions looked shocked, with open mouths and wide eyes. Others were in hysterics, grabbing their hair and crying. "That's it. I'm calling the police," Gloria said, taking her phone out and starting to dial. Everyone went quiet as we waited for her to make contact with emergency services. "Hello? Yes. I was just helping my daughter and her husband move when a mob surrounded the house. We don't know their intentions and they won't leave." "Yes, it's 185 Eleanor. 30646. Please send as many available police officers as possible." "Okay, thank you." She hung up the phone. "They're sending some cars. The lady said they'll be here within the next 15 minutes. We all found this a bit comforting. Mark suggested we went upstairs to get as far away from the windows and doors as possible. We ended up locking ourselves in the master bedroom to wait it out.